Welcome to my channel, Collective. This portion of the channel is called From Within, Divine Feminine. Here I will be diving deep into the depths of spirituality, what it means, who we are, our practices, and so on. There's so much information and downloads that I receive on a daily basis. I've been trying to figure out how to properly deliver the information without causing any further harm to myself or humanity. I have reached a level of ascension now where I am ready to speak in the 3D realm, that is. If you know, then you know. I only ask that you be patient with me, for this is a lot of information to intake, but also a lot of information to put out. With that being said, let's dive in. What's up, family? So welcome back to From Within Divine Feminine. The topic for today is drugs and spirituality. So why did I choose this topic? If I'm being totally honest with you, I chose this topic because it has a lot to do with my spiritual awakening. The drugs played a very big part of me noticing that we live in three different worlds at one, like simultaneously. How can I say? And I've never taken really like hard drugs. I never did like cocaine, crack, or any of that. It was always, Molly or ecstasy, those two. It was out of those two. And those specific drugs to me, they sped up reality for me. So, if you all listen to me, if you have followed my journey, you know that I have a need for speed. To me, time doesn't exist, especially in the spiritual realm, because my soul is able to travel between time and space, and it's able to go back to the past. It's able to go to the future. It is able to. Time just doesn't exist to me in my spirituality, in my spiritual aspect of life. And so the drugs, it sped everything. Before I actually learned how to do it all on my own, the drugs helped me to do that. I'm not saying go out and do it, it'll help you. No, my message is you can do it without it. This is my message from when I first started to become aware. That was my message. That was my message to myself. This is what really got me to stop doing the drugs. I had to keep telling myself, you can do it without the drugs. You can do it without the drugs. You can do it without the drugs. And it's not so much more of being successful without the drugs. It's more so of living in both worlds at the same time without the drugs, because I felt as if I first started to run from spirituality. I started to run from it because the only time I would experience the spiritual realm, the awareness of the spiritual realm, is when I was under the influence of something, of a mind altering substance. And so I thought this was just something that was just the drugs. I thought it was just a hallucination. I thought it was, like what they try to diagnose it as, what their mental disorders. I thought that's what this was. And so I thought when I started to run, when I left Florida a couple of times, I left Florida, it was mainly to get away from the drugs. I thought I was running from the drugs or starting a new life without the drugs. But as time started going, especially after 2019, it's spirituality. It's becoming more of a thing. The spiritual realm and the physical realm, it's now coming together to form one world. not only that, but the underworld as well. I'm just going to say it how it is. But we're not going to speak about down there. We're going to speak about here and above. And so they're now becoming one world. And so I had to find I thought I was running from something. I thought I was running from the drugs, but I was really running from who it was that I was. I was running from myself. I was running from my reality. And so when I started to accept the things that I was seeing under the influence, once I accepted that, I then started to use these gifts without being under the influence. Telepathy. You'll hear me speak about telepathy a lot. Excuse me, I had to yawn. It's raining outside and I was meditating, and I had to get myself up so that I can do this and have it posted by tomorrow. So excuse me for that. But where was I? So when I came to the conclusion that I had these abilities, telepathy, it is a part of who I am. And when I really started to notice it, I started to notice that I find when I listen, I hear myself speaking a lot in my head. And so it just makes me wonder, like, how long was when I wasn't so much aware, like, what was I saying? Like, what in the, like, because I can't really, but I know, but it's like how it's a lot, because I just wanted to know, like, damn, well, I wonder what I was thinking in this situation, or I wonder what I was thinking in that situation, at that specific time. Like, I don't know, but eventually on my journey, I'm not going to get into a lot of the different stories because I've already spoken on them in previous topics and previous videos about the certain spiritual experiences that I have experienced under the influence, and during my dark night of the soul, during my awakening, and my ascension. And I kind of don't want to go through all of that again, but I do want to say that it was a big part of, my awakening. Now, what I have noticed along the journey is that most spiritual folks, or most people who believe in spirituality or who live in spirituality, or most people who have the gifts that I have, or the abilities, or whose soul align with mine, most of these people, they indulge, or they have, or they still are indulged in mind-altering substances. Now, mind-altering substances is not only alcohol and weed, and I don't care what anybody say, weed is a mind-altering substance because it slows things down for you. I'll get into that in a minute. But they either have, or they still are indulging in mind-altering substances. And why is that? Because these mind-altering substances, the brain is where the soul lives. This is how telepathy is performed. It's not it's like your soul speaking to your brain, and your brain, it's your soul. This is what I believe. The soul lives inside of the brain. In mind-altering substances, it opens up the mind, and it expands the brain and the radiation of it to different realities. It opens you up to different realms and different dimensions, which simultaneously it lifts the veil for the soul to be seen or recognized. Now, I say this because of my experiences, the things that I have experienced under the influence. This is what made me aware of the spiritual realm, of telepathy, of, my thoughts. It made me aware of it because I started to pay attention, and it was only under the influence because I had started to Once I started to notice it, I'm not gonna lie, I started to play. I started to play with in the spiritual realm, not like on a risky type of thing, no, but I started to question spirits. Like, I would, if you hear me, if you can hear me, like, wiggle your toe, or if you can hear me, flash your lights. That's how it started for me. And people would actually do it. Like, if I'm speaking to you telepathically and I say these things and you react to them, it's like, okay, well, I'm not tripping. It's like, I'm really not tripping. And then, so once I decided to back away from the drugs, and I kept telling myself, you can do it without it. You can do it without it. For some reason, God speaks to me all the time. Telepathy is how you actually talk to God, with your mind, with your thoughts, with your vibration. And so when God started to speak to me, he wanted me to let the drugs go. He wanted me to do this without the drugs, because who would believe an addict, or who would believe a drug abuser? Who would believe someone who's always under the influence? And so it was very important for me to shake this habit. So it was important for me to first recognize the gifts, recognize the different world, recognize the things that are supposed to be unseen, or people want to be unseen or noticed. And then it was meant for me to shake the drugs, and then to keep living in this reality, so that people can be aware that it's not the drugs. I am fully sane. I am fully capable. It's another world. It's another, the message is that spirituality is real. Like, the spiritual realm, it is real. God is real. Like, demons, things that are below us, are real. It's not so much about demons and angels, spirits and devils. It's about three different worlds that live together simultaneously, that feed off of one another, that they're supposed to teach one another, learn from one another. They're supposed to co-create with one another. But there has been so much, like, it's so much false information, so many different things, different books of the Bible, with people who don't really understand what it is that they may have heard or that they may have witnessed. And so they take this information and they try to distribute it as well as they can. And this has caused a lot of confusion, because people start to label, like, they start to put labels on people instead of just realizing that we are in a spiritual experience. It's just three different places that you live, but we are all spiritual beings. The beings that live inside of the earth, they're spiritual beings. How do you think they're able to project and possess? How do you think they're able to project their souls and their energy and their voices above into other people? And it's called possession. How do you think the angels and God is able to speak through people in order to get a message across? Like prophetess, like people in the church. I'm not a big church who they do, but I do. There are some people in the church who speak truth. There are some people who in the church who God speaks to. God, we are all portals. Like, we are all portals that are able to be used. But the question is, what do you want to be used for? Do you want to be used by God, or do you want to be used by something below God, something that doesn't believe in God? Do you want to be who do you choose to surrender to? Your higher self or your lower self? God or the devil? Truth or lies, deception or honesty, integrity. What is it that you choose to answer to? Who do you surrender to? Who do you answer to? I think I may have gotten off topic again, Lord. it's still all the same though. But for example, right, let's just talk about it. I've noticed, right, that a lot of famous people, a lot of talented people, a lot of people of influence, a lot of these people, they use mind altering substances. Why do we use mind altering substances? It gives us a sense of freedom, right? So I'm gonna try to explain it to the best of my ability. When your mind is altered, right, and you have access to different realms or different worlds, shall I say, it gives you a sense of freedom, especially for spiritual beings, or people who consider themselves spiritual. It makes you feel, it gives you a sense of freedom to be who it is that you are, a sense of freedom that you crave, that you can't live in, that you thought you couldn't live in the physical reality. This is why it was so important for me to blend them both without the drugs, so that people can start living in their authenticity, so that I can wake up the gods within us, so that we can start living in our ranking instead of accepting being considered lower level, or accepting being considered middle class because of a label that someone has placed on you. No, it was meant for me to combine the two worlds, so that I can not only live in my truth and who I am, so that like-minded and other individuals can feel free in who they are, so that they no longer have to hide. This is not a hiding game. We are not to hide who we are to make others feel superior. And this is something that I had to learn. This is something that I had to not only learn, but I had to start implementing it in my life, in my daily life, in my daily activities. Spirituality is now a lifestyle for me. It is now my reality. Telepathy is now a part of my reality. It is now who I am. I choose to use that gift frequently, all the time. I use it all the time because it is who I am. There are some times where I try to be reasonable because my spirit is free, okay? And it says what it wants, it does what it wants, and I'm okay with that. But a lot of people may not be. They might not be okay with their truth. And I know my soul knows their truth. My soul just tends to know things that just not its business. But that's what it is. And it speaks truth. It speaks truth to me. It speaks truth to my neighbor. It speaks truth to my brothers, my sisters. It's a truth speaker. And so sometimes, it can be, a little upfront. And I'm just here to say that we don't have to indulge in mind altering substances in order to be free. Like, there is a point in my life to where when I first started smoking weed, it was like, oh, I needed weed to do this. And before I did anything, I had me a blunt. Okay, like if I'm going for a car ride to the corner store, I'm taking me a blunt. If I'm going to wash my clothes, I'm taking me a blunt, maybe two, because when I get ready to put them in the washer, I'm lighting that. When I get ready to put them before I get ready to put them in the dryer, I'm lighting that. While I'm waiting, I'm lighting that. By the time it's time for me to take them out the dryer to fold them, I'm lighting that. And on the way home, I'm gonna light that again. Like, so how can I say? I just want to say that this is not something to be ashamed of, but we could learn to live without it, I guess, because the difference between weed and like hardcore drugs, weed slows down the reality. All of the other drugs, it speeds the reality up, and a lot of us crave that speed because it is who and what we are. We are limitless, timeless beings. We are meant to travel between time and space. So a lot of us choose the uppers, the high, the high that speeds up reality, because it puts us in a state of where we truly desire to be, which is limitless. Now, when it comes to weed slows the reality down. Now, a lot of people who choose downers, they choose the downers because they are afraid of the speed. They are afraid of the things that, the unknown, the things that are in the other realms. And so this is what the weed does. It slows it down, and it makes it seem as if it's not there. Versus the fast, like the harder drugs, they speed it up and make everything more apparent. So it's like running to and then running from. Weed would be, and the harder drugs would be running to. Fearless, like to do hardcore, like, or anything other than weed, it's like a fearless type of thing. And that's because a lot of us are fearless beings. We are limitless spiritual beings, and we crave that sense of speed. But see, this is the tricker, because this is what this does. It not only, you're craving this reality, yeah, it's giving you a temporary fulfillment, but it's a chaser. It makes you want to chase it. And so once you chase it, it then starts to you start to forget about the physical reality in which your vessel is in. And then it's like, okay, so what about working? You still have to work. You still have to sleep in order to rest your vessel. You still have to get up and make a life for yourself. You still have morals that you have. You have morals that you have to live by. You're a woman. I mean, you're a man. You're supposed to be with a woman. You're a woman. You're supposed to be with a man. Blah, blah, blah. We're not going to get into that because I don't have no hard feelings for nobody. But, you know, the drugs, they take these characteristics that you're supposed to have, that you embody, and they twist them into believing or thinking something other than what your reality really is. Reality versus illusion. So it's a little two-sided, but the message is, if we learn to live in our natural form, out of our natural energy, just off of the love of life, then we will not only be able to create a mental freedom, but an emotional freedom, a physical and a financial freedom, versus just a mental freedom. Because drugs, they give you a sense of a mental freedom. It makes you careless about physical things, paying bills, living in a house, driving a car. It makes you careless about these things. And so if you notice, a lot of people who do drugs, you know, they live outside, or they live in their cars, or they don't have a car, or they don't have a lot of things, material things, because these things don't matter to them. They mentally, they feel as if they're free, and this is what a lot of people seek, but they don't know that you can have this mental freedom. You can live in both worlds at the same time. And not only can you do this, but you can do this and be very successful. You can do this and be very grounded. You can do this and still be able to have fun. Go out and dance and have fun and be free and do things freely without having to alter your mind, without having to pretend as if you're not aware, because there is a sense of awareness. And a lot of people, what I've noticed over the past 2 or 3 years is a lot of people are awake. I want to say this very, very, very loosely. They are aware and also aware. If you follow me and you listen, then you know that there is a difference. To be awake is to know thy neighbor. To be aware is to know thyself. There are a lot of people who are awakened to their neighbors, but then there are a lot of people who are aware to themselves, and they still choose to use their energy for lower level things. And that is because the mentality that these drugs have embedded into them is that they are a person of power, which you are. But how much power do you actually have if you need a mind altering substance to make you feel powerful? If you need this mind altering substance to be able to use your spiritual gifts, if you can't use your spiritual gifts without drugs, then how much power do you really have? Because the drugs are just a gateway to the spiritual realm. It's a gateway to my world, where it is that I come from. And the fact that I had to learn how to access this world without altering my mind, it just shows me how powerful I really am, and how powerless a lot of people actually are. Because I've noticed that a lot of people try to use these drugs to manipulate me, or to overpower me in a sense, and then it's like, okay, well, I've learned to access my world without it, and I'm standing in that real big, and I expect you to acknowledge that. The same way you acknowledged it when I was under the influence, I expect you to acknowledge it while I'm not under the influence, and respect me as such. So yeah, that's with me and spirituality. I went through something to where there were, I like the last time, 18 months ago, was the last time I did drugs, and it was something. That was when I had really started to know and use my power to my ability, and that is when I really, really knew that I no longer wanted to use my power under the influence, because it made me feel worthless. It made me feel powerless. I don't know. It's like it was taking something from me. It was making me feel some type of a way. And it wasn't in a good way. And so I just wanted to be able to do it without it. And so I did. So if anybody want to talk about it, let's talk about it down in the comment section. I'm thinking about doing a nonprofit, some type of a nonprofit thing for addictions or rehabilitation. Maybe not now, but probably in 10 years or something. But it was a thought. Yeah, so if anything resonated with you, if you want to talk about it, you want to tell your testimony, drop it in the comment section down below. We will be going live probably next year to get into some of these topics, so I can have some one-on-one. Well, it's not going to be so much one-on-one, but so I can, actually get to converse with my listeners and my followers and my watchers. Yeah, hit the like button for me, subscribe, hit that share button for me, subscribe for future messages. That is the topic for today. I want to thank you all for listening, for tuning in to From Within Divine Feminine. I'm sending you all peace, love, and light, understanding, wisdom, and knowledge. Peace.